The broken law. The spires of Nsira Prime shimmered in pale gold light, towering like crystalline fangs under the twin suns. Ships from 1,000 civilizations glided silently through orbital lanes, their hulls etched with the insignias of empires both noble and cruel. The city below pulsed with the rhythm of diplomacy, endless negotiations, cautious peace, and the unspoken threat of war. Ambassador Kelrith of the Clothy Dominion stood in silence within his quarters, his bioluminescent frills dimmed in thought. He was old by his people's standards, his chitin scarred from centuries of service. He had seen wars ignited by pride and alliances forged in desperation. But nothing, not in 300 cycles, had shaken him like the encrypted message glowing before him now. 3 human children dead. Elysian 5. A small Terran-aligned colony on a galactic frontier. Neutral. Peaceful. The kind of place where refugees drew gardens in the soil and sang songs to alien birds. And now burned. Unmarked black ships had descended under cover of a cosmic storm. They didn't take valuables. They took children. Of the 27 taken, only 3 were human. Only the humans died. Kelrith let the data scroll across his vision again. Internal logs, biometric scans, autopsy reports, and worst of all, council clearance codes. The Dreckery, that arrogant reptilian species, had always walked the edge of war with their genetic experiments and disdain for non-reptiloid life forms. But this was beyond even their usual depravity. And the council had authorized the operation in secret. They hadn't known there were humans among the test group, but they hadn't checked. Kelrith deactivated the holoscreen, his claws trembling. For centuries, the Galactic Council had enforced one law above all others: do not harm human children. Not because humans were sacred, not because they were special, but because they were dangerous. He remembered the beginning, as few still alive did. 300 years ago, the Gorlax enslaved a Terran orphanage during a skirmish on Proxima 9, thought they were taking unarmed, weak prey. By the time Earth responded, the children were gone. The Gorlax homeworld followed soon after, its skies torn apart by kinetic rods and orbital mirrors. No declaration of war, no negotiations, just annihilation. The galaxy never forgot. Neither did Earth. Since then, the first law had been written into every charter, every treaty, every artificial intelligence core. No species, no matter how advanced, ever violated it again. Until now, Kelrith made his way to the council chamber. The Hall of Unity was anything but unified. Dozens of species sat in their gravity-modulated alcoves, speaking in hushed tones. News of the Elysian 5 incident had begun leaking through the diplomatic networks. Officially, it was a tragic mistake. Unofficially, everyone smelled rot. Ambassador Kelrith called Chairwoman Riss of the Ilvani, her voice lilting and cold. "You requested an emergency assembly?" Kelrith stepped forward. "I did, and I invoked Section 7 of the Concordat. The Dreckery acted in violation of the first law. This council sanctioned that mission. That makes us complicit." Murmurs surged through the hall. Ambassador Vrock of the Dreckery rose, unrepentant. There was no intent. The extraction focused on testable youth for neuroresilience. "We screened over 1,000 species. We regret." Kelrith slammed a talon against the floor. "You regret? 3 Terran children burned alive in your labs. The very law that binds this council. Broken. You regret getting caught. Not what you did." Chairwoman Riss intervened. "Ambassador Kelrith, your tone." "Enough posturing," Kelrith growled. "Do you truly think Earth won't find out? That they won't notice 3 of their children missing from a registered colony? You forget what they are." Vrock sneered. "They are mammals with a mythology of vengeance. But their rage can be contained. We have the technology." Kelrith looked around. "Do you all hear this? Contained? The last species that tried to contain humanity now exists only in simulation records. The humans won't come to negotiate. They'll come to remember." Hours later, Kelrith stood alone in his chamber again, staring at the darkness outside. His appeal had failed. The council voted to issue a formal apology to the colonists, not Earth. No admission of guilt. No punishment for the Dreckery. They thought it would be enough. But Kelrith knew better. His private comm pinged. Encrypted burst. Unknown source. He opened it. A single line glowed in red. We know. We're coming. Attached was a live-tracking image of the UNS Retribution, a Terran Dread-class ship, traveling through slipspace. No diplomatic signal. No escort. Its course was unmistakable, directly toward the galactic core. Kelrith exhaled, the weight of centuries heavy on his shoulders. The first law had been broken, and humanity was awake. Humanity knows. The UNS Retribution pierced the silence of deep space like a spear of vengeance. No transponder. No greetings. No delay. It surged through the stars at impossible speed, powered by technologies no other species dared replicate. Not after what happened to the Gorlax, the Cerati, and the Ator Confederacy. Captain Jade Rourke stood motionless on the command deck, her eyes locked on the holomap. Target, Galactic Core. Secondary objective, deliver the message. Primary? That didn't need to be said. It pulsed through every Terran crew member like a second heartbeat. ETA to Cyrus space? She asked, voice calm as tempered steel. 4 hours, ma'am, replied her navigation officer, Ensign Malik. No resistance. No escorts. Everyone's avoiding us. Jade nodded. That was smart, but it wouldn't matter. She turned from the screen and walked toward the observation bay. As the bulkhead hissed open, stars spilled in, glimmering across her sharp, expressionless face. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes. 3 names echoed in the silence. Lena, Benji, Toma. They were just kids. Lena liked to draw. She once sketched a 10-limbed alien ambassador on the side of her housing pod, giggling that he looked like a sad octopus in a dress. Benji was obsessed with rockets. He'd taken apart his school's maintenance drone and rebuilt it into a model shuttle, one that could actually fly. Toma never stopped asking questions. About stars. About aliens. About why people made war. They were supposed to grow up under Terran protection. That was the promise. Humanity had accepted alien peace on one condition, that their children would never be touched. And now, that promise was ash in the void. Captain, said Malik's voice through the intercom, we've reached the Dreckery outpost in the Wiletan belt, awaiting your orders. Jade opened her eyes. Bring us in. Prepare boarding team. The Dreckery outpost was already transmitting desperate signals as the Retribution exited slipspace. They knew what was coming. The human ship didn't respond. It loomed overhead, casting the Dreckery facility into darkness. Within minutes, boarding pods impacted the outpost's hull, and Terran operatives poured in, silent, efficient, merciless. Jade didn't need to join the assault. She chose to. She walked through corridors slick with panic, her black armor gleaming, her face uncovered. Her presence was more effective than a dozen weapons. The Dreckery shrank from her. Some dropped their rifles without resistance. She reached the control core and found Commander Zhao, leader of the facility, trembling under guard. Jade studied him. You knew the risks, she said, voice like a slow-burning fuse. We didn't know there were humans in the group. Zhao spat, his voice shaking. They were part of a mixed colony. It was an oversight. Jade leaned in. An oversight that cost 3 lives. Zhao hissed, his throat sacs inflating. They were just children. Jade's expression didn't change. Exactly. She drew a thin, gleaming blade from her waist. Not for killing. For carving. She stepped forward and held the blade, just under his jaw. You're not going to die today, Commander Zhao. You're going to live. You're going to limp back to your council, broken and ashamed. And you're going to tell them exactly what I tell you. His scales turned pale. Jade spoke slowly, each word an indictment. You broke the first law. Now we break you. Not through fleets. Not with fire. But by turning your precious order to ruin. And if that fails, we'll bring the fire too. She stepped back and motioned to her squad. Leave him. Let him crawl. As they exited, Zhao was already sobbing. Hours later, back aboard the Retribution, Jade debriefed with her senior staff in the war room. A 3D projection of the Galactic Council floated above the table, blinking with red indicators, fractures forming. Council members are panicking. reported Intelligence Officer Vieira. 4 species have suspended ties with the Dreckery. 2 others are withdrawing from the Council entirely. They're scared. Good, Jade said. Let them be. Do we escalate? Asked Commander Reyes. Hit more targets? Jade shook her head. No, this isn't a war. This is an autopsy. We're not here to conquer. We're here to expose rot. She brought up a new hollow image, a burning building on Elysian. 5, smoldering under storm-lit skies. The children deserve more than revenge. They deserve justice. So we'll tear down the walls and let the galaxy see who sat behind them. Reyes hesitated. And if they still try to cover it up? Jade's eyes hardened. Then we show them what restraint looks like, and what it looks like when restraint dies. The room fell into silence. Later, alone in her quarters, Jade opened a small silver case. Inside were 3 holograms. Lena laughing in the sunlight, Benji holding a rocket in one hand and giving a thumbs up with the other, Toma with arms wide open as if trying to hug the entire universe. She touched each one gently. Humanity knew, and the galaxy would never forget again. What humans remember. The derelict moon station hung in the void like a forgotten thought. Once a mining relay for the Haraxi Empire, it now served only one purpose, a secret meeting ground. Its air was cold, filtered just enough to sustain life. Its lights flickered as though even the station was hesitant to stay awake. Captain Jade Rourke entered the central chamber alone. Her black coat fluttered behind her as magnetic boots clinked softly on rusted plating. The room was circular, open, and dark, lit only by a faint glow from the starfield outside. She wasn't surprised to see Ambassador Kelrith already waiting. The clothy elder stood still, his bioluminescent frills dimmed in morning tones. He bowed his insectoid head slightly as Jade approached. I had hoped, Kelrith said slowly, that this meeting would be unnecessary. Jade stopped across from him. So had I. A beat of silence passed. Kelrith gestured gently. Earth has already crippled the Dreckery politically. Trade embargoes, sabotaged alliances. Entire sectors are folding. You've made your point. Jade's voice was quiet but unshakable. This was never about making a point. You want war? Kelrith asked. Jade leaned forward slightly. I want justice. 3 children are dead. Burned. Tortured. Forgotten until we found them. Your council did that. You voted to silence it. Kelrith flinched but didn't deny it. Many of us argued against it. But the majority feared what Earth would do if it knew. They feared exactly this. Jade pulled a small drive from her coat and placed it on the table between them. Kelrith tilted his head. What is that? Proof, Jade said. The original footage of the council vote. Your secret clearance codes. The Dreckery's classified experiment logs. The corpses. Their names. Their faces. Kelrith hesitated. You're going to leak this. I already have, she replied. This is for you, because I think you're one of the few who understands what's coming. The ambassador picked up the drive, turning it over with trembling claws. They won't survive this, he murmured. The council will fracture. Then let it fracture, Jade said. Let it bleed. Let every species who claims to value life see what the council allowed under its banner. Kelrith looked up. What is it that humans want now? Revenge? Punishment? Jade shook her head. Recognition. Accountability. In a new system where no one, Terran or otherwise, has to beg for their children to be safe. Kelrith stared for a long time, then nodded slowly. There may be a way, but you'll need more than fear. You'll need truth. When the data leak hit the galaxy-wide ComNet 2 days later, it detonated like a nova. Every screen, every station, every datapad, every drone, the footage played without end. The names of Lena, Benji, and Toma echoed in languages across stars. Their pictures were shown beside data logs of vivisection, of screams, of cold council signatures authorizing biological variance testing. The vote footage showed members laughing. One delegate asked, do Terran children even bleed differently? And in the center of it all, the Dreckery Commander Zal, broken and bruised, delivering Jade's message under forced broadcast. You broke the first law. Now we break you. Entire species erupted in outrage. Riots spread across core worlds. Dreckery embassies were burned. Peaceful species like the Nirellans and Fairy withdrew from the Council entirely. Half a dozen major trade alliances collapsed within 48 hours. And through it all, Earth remained silent, watching, waiting. On the observation deck of the UNS Retribution, Jade stood beside her intelligence officer, Vieira, watching live footage stream in from across the galaxy. "We've lit the match," Vieira said. Jade nodded. "And they're starting to see the fire for what it is." Commander Reyes entered, face grim. "Ambassador Kelrith just contacted us. He's resigning from the Council. Publicly." Jade turned. "What's his play?" "He's calling for a tribunal. A formal trial. Held on Earth. He wants to bring the remaining Council leaders before a galactic audience and let the families of the victims face them directly." Jade's gaze hardened. "He's risking everything. He says he doesn't want to die complicit," Reyes said. Jade took a breath. "Then we give him the chance to live differently." Within a week, Earth confirmed it would host the tribunal in New Geneva under a newly created court system, the Interstellar Tribunal for Child Protection, or ITCP. It was open to every species, neutral and public. No weapons, no warships, only truth. Some thought it was a trap. Others thought it a test. But the galaxy was watching now, and no one wanted to be seen as standing with the Dreckery. Council members began arriving, nervous, defensive, and, most importantly, afraid. On the eve of the first hearing, Jade stood alone outside the tribunal hall, watching diplomats disembark onto Earth's soil. Some looked up at the Terran sky in awe, others in dread. Commander Reyes approached. "I never thought we'd see them walk into our house like this." Jade didn't smile. "They're not walking into our house." Reyes frowned. "Then what?" "They're walking into our memory," she said quietly. "Because what they forgot, what they laughed at, covered up, ignored, we remember. And now, so will everyone else." The doors to the tribunal hall opened with a hiss. It was time. The trial of fire. The tribunal hall in New Geneva was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It wasn't grand. It wasn't gold. It wasn't etched with symbols of power. It was simple, a circular chamber of steel, glass, and silence. Transparent walls allowed sunlight to flood the room, casting long shadows over those who had once ruled from behind closed doors. In the center, 6 chairs waited, stark unadorned. One for each council leader who had approved the Elysian 5 operation. They sat now, flanked by guards from a dozen species, faces drawn, robes heavy with guilt or defiance. Around them, observers from over 400 species packed the balconies. The galaxy had come not for blood, but for reckoning. They had come to watch Earth do what no superweapon ever could, hold power accountable. Captain Jade Rourke watched from a private chamber above the court. She had no role in the proceedings, not directly. Earth insisted on neutrality in presentation. But make no mistake, her presence was felt. She was the sword behind the gavel. At the heart of the room stood Ambassador Kelrith, no longer a delegate of the Council, but now chief arbiter of the tribunal. His once bright frills now glowed a solemn blue. He spoke, voice amplified and translated in real time. Let the proceedings begin. The first witness was Emilia Wren, mother of Lena Wren, one of the 3 murdered children. She was quiet as she stepped forward. Not angry, not dramatic, just a mother holding a photo of her daughter. She liked to draw, Emilia said softly, holding up a picture, a Dreckery ambassador, drawn with exaggerated eyes and 10 legs. The room chuckled gently. Even some of the council leaders looked away. She would have laughed if she saw you now, Emilia continued. Try to make you into a comic. But you took her. You didn't even ask her name. She placed the drawing on the table before them. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here so no other child has to be forgotten like she was. She turned and walked away. No applause. No cheers. Just silence. The kind of silence that changes people. One by one, the families came. A brother, a classmate, a nurse from the colony, a retired Dreckery scientist who wept as he confessed he'd warned his superiors and been silenced. When the last testimony ended, Kelrith rose again. You have heard the voices of those who have no armies, no fleets, only memories. He turned to the 6 council leaders. You are not on trial as individuals alone. You are on trial as representatives of a system that chose secrecy over life, order over empathy, fear over accountability. The Dreckery representative hissed. We didn't intend harm. Kelrith nodded. And yet 3 are dead. The verdict came not from a jury, but from a consensus of planetary representatives, chosen before the trial began. Over 80% voted guilty. Punishment was not execution. Earth had insisted on that. Instead, the sentence was dismantling. The Galactic Council was officially dissolved. The Dreckery bioresearch divisions were to be disbanded and their data made public. All genetic experimentation on sentient juveniles was banned across known space, with Earth-appointed overseers for enforcement. A new governing charter, the Accord of Innocence, was signed by over 300 species within days. And at the heart of it, carved into the new founding stone placed at the Tribunal site, the first law: no harm shall ever come to the children of any world. To break this is to break the foundation of peace itself. As the crowd dispersed and ships rose back to orbit, a quiet fell over New Geneva. Jade stood alone at the edge of the Tribunal's garden, facing the memorial that had been raised during the proceedings. It was simple. 3 bronze figures, Lena, Benji, and Toma, reaching up toward a glowing globe surrounded by dozens of smaller stars, one for each species that had vowed to protect the young from that day forward. The wind stirred. Flowers lay at the base of the statues, some from Earth, others from worlds Jade couldn't pronounce. Each a symbol, each a vow. Footsteps approached behind her. It was Kelrith. They asked me to return to the new council, he said. Jade glanced at him. You will. He hesitated, then nodded, only as a voice to remind them what happens when they forget. She looked back to the statues. Good. Remind them every day. Kelrith bowed his head. And what of Earth? Jade smiled faintly. We'll go home, back to building, teaching, laughing, until someone forgets again. He tilted his head. You believe someone will? Her smile faded. Someone always does. They stood together in silence, watching the sunlight fall across the faces of 3 children who had changed the galaxy without lifting a weapon. Far above, the stars burned on, but this time they burned just a little brighter.